Did you watch the WNBA playoffs without Caitlin Clark? Chances are you didn't, and it seems like not many others did either. Without Clark in the mix, the excitement dropped, and so did the viewership. Fans who were captivated by her on-court brilliance seemed to have tuned out, leaving the league scrambling to maintain momentum without their breakout star.
Caitlin Clark is box office. She's doing this. And instead of giving her credit, y'all tried to make it about, oh, y'all poo-pooing the old guard. Y'all never talked about the old guard like this.
And they all stayed the course. She allowed her teammates to lead her in certain moments and calm her down in certain moments while still playing the game and being herself out there on the floor, while also dealing with a ton of BS and noise off the court.
The audience numbers took a nosedive, dropping from 1.8 million viewers to just 161,000. That's not just a small decline. It's a massive plunge, signaling a dramatic shift in interest without Caitlin Clark on the court.
Caitlin Clark can be used as a unit of measurement from here on out when it comes to noise around the game of basketball. We will be able to in the future say, well, this compares to what Caitlin Clark had to deal with because there was so much noise and she dealt with it and she handled it.
Now we have to wonder, is the WNBA facing challenges without its latest star, Caitlin Clark?
I love the point that you made about Caitlin Clark in terms of the BS that she had to deal with off the court. We got to remember she's been box office, she was the main attraction, and there were so many storylines that's been associated with her. Most recently, the whole thing with her and Cheryl Swoops, even though it really wasn't her, it was Cheryl Swoops and all this. Every time you turned around, there was something that she had to deal with.
Let's take a moment to appreciate Caitlin Clark. She didn't just step into the league, she made an immediate and massive impact. From day one, she transformed the game and became a key figure in the WNBA, turning heads and setting new standards.
The reason I bring that up, and I love that, because as a rookie, ladies and gentlemen, put this in perspective. Caitlin Clark finished the regular season leading rookies in scoring, field goals made, three-point field goals made, assists, steals, and minutes played, and she led the league in assists and three-pointers made. Think about that for a second here. And like Shannon says, ultimately, you first team, you one of those people. So we got and fourth in the league in MVP voting.
The Indiana Fever, a team that was almost off the radar, suddenly became contenders for the playoffs, all thanks to her.
Minimize her. Say, well, you giving her all this credit. What about the women that came before her? What the women came before her, what they did cannot be taken away. That ain't got nothing to do with Caitlin Clark. But there was a lot of people trying to make sure they keep Caitlin Clark in her place, because what you're doing, if you give her all this shine, you minimize what they done. You can't minimize what Maya Moore or Candace Parker or Lisa Leslie or Lauren Jackson or Diana Taurasi or Simone Augustus or any of the other great players. That Caitlin Clark, what she's doing, doesn't minimize what they've done.
Imagine transforming from being overlooked to becoming the key player in such a short time.
But we should have been giving her the credit. We saw the ratings, we saw the merchandise sales, we saw the attendance, but y'all want to make it about something else. Oh, what about the women that laid the foundation? What about this? What about it? That ain't got nothing to do with Caitlin Clark.
Here's the concerning part. Without Caitlin Clark, the league is struggling with empty arenas and dismal TV ratings. It's like the excitement has disappeared, and the fans have followed suit, leaving the WNBA searching for answers.
Caitlin Clark, unanimous Rookie of the Year. But what's even more impressive, she's first team WNBA. First.
The big question now is, has the WNBA become too reliant on just one player? And what happens if Caitlin Clark isn't around? This raises serious concerns about the league's ability to sustain interest without her star power.
Reflecting back on Caitlin Clark's rookie season, I have honestly never seen a company fumble the bag so hard like the WNBA fumbled Caitlin Clark.
Stay tuned, because we're about to dive into why this situation is crucial for the future of women's basketball. Understanding the implications of Caitlin Clark's absence will shed light on the challenges and opportunities that lie ahead for the league.
Fact that the Fever are having on the economy in Indianapolis, in the WNBA, in the world of sports. And frankly, it's amazing. Now, You all know the backstory. Angel Reese in college did all this and all this, mocking, of course, our girl, Caitlin Clark.
You might be wondering, those numbers look impressive, but what do they really mean for the league? Let me break it down for you. Before Caitlin Clark arrived, the Indiana Fever were largely overlooked, but now they've become a team that everyone is buzzing about.
I think she's spectacular. I think she's going to be the biggest box office attraction in women's basketball in short order. I know it sounds like I could be a bit biased. I had the pleasure, as I've told you on several occasions, of doing an interview with her. And when I was there with her on stage to do something with her, 10,000 people showed up.
Clark didn't just raise their game. She transformed them into serious contenders in no time at all. Her impact on the team has been nothing short of extraordinary, propelling them into the spotlight.
This woman is special. She is a marksman. She is the Steph Curry of women's basketball. And I understand the Cheryl Swoops of the world or anybody else. There's a lot of players that have been excellent in women's basketball throughout the best. UNESCO is obviously spectacular. We see various others as well. I remember the days of Cheryl Swoops and Cynthia Cooper and how big Lisa Leslie and how big time they all were. And I'm not taking anything away, but when you consider the evolution of the game of women's basketball.
But it's not just about what happens on the court. Clark's impact reaches well beyond the game itself.
Intrigued because there's a league with players that feel like they should be getting the attention. Now they have center stage, but the ratings are going to go down. How far, though? That's the key.
We're seeing record-breaking viewership for WNBA games. And who's at the heart of it all? That's right, Caitlin Clark. She's become the driving force behind the league's surge in popularity.
It's going to be, before the argument was, the league is much more than this one girl that came into the league,
right.
And we've established it, and hey, look at the numbers everywhere else across women's basketball. It's not just Caitlin Clark, it's all of us. And then the moment the ratings tank, they're going to come back and say, see, we were right all along. It's all the racists that follow Caitlin Clark that were watching the product, and now they're gone, and we're back with our diehards. And that's the ratings that you're seeing, actual W fans, not WNBA, actual W fans.
Let me get it right.
That's going to be the argument.
She's transformed from a player into the symbol of women's basketball.
But is that going to be a headline when they dip, when she's not playing? And now they have to go through the postseason. They're going head-to-head with the NFL. We pointed that out yesterday, which isn't smart.
The numbers are going to be up year to year because Caitlin Clark wasn't in the WNBA last year. So ESPN is going to spin this as a positive that their playoffs will be much higher rated than they were a year ago, even the playoffs without Caitlin Clark.
Yes.
But because they were so low, that really isn't telling you the whole story.
Clark isn't just attracting die-hard basketball fans. She's pulling in people who've never even watched a women's game before. Her impact is reaching entirely new audiences.
28 years, the numbers were stellar. Caitlin Clark drew a whole new fan base into it. And now the question is, because she has been eliminated, she and the Indiana Fever are eliminated after losing 2 games to the Connecticut Sun. What is the rest of the season going to look like, ratings-wise, for the WNBA? Are people still going to care? That is the question on everybody's mind, because when you look at the numbers with Caitlin Clark there, her first playoff game, drawing 1.84 million viewers, ridiculous numbers. The highest rated playoff game since Game 2 of the 2000 WNBA Finals. This wasn't even just an opening round game back in 2000. This was one of the finals games. So this clearly is showing how much of an impact Caitlin Clark is having.
She's making the WNBA more relevant than it's ever been. However, this also raises some concerns. Clark has become such a major star so quickly that it feels like the entire league is leaning on her.
Obviously, it's always important to give credit where it's due. And I think we all realize where the credit needs to be given as far as the success of this WNBA season. Caitlin Clark came in and made such an impact on how many people started to care about the WNBA. This was the highest viewed season in the history of the league.
This leads us to a key question. Is this reliance good for the WNBA? You know the saying, don't put all your eggs in one basket. Well, it seems like the WNBA is learning this lesson the hard way. With Caitlin Clark out of the playoffs, the league is facing a reality check, and it's making everyone wonder, if they've missed a golden opportunity. This goes far beyond losing a standout player. Let's take a moment to look at some figures. Remember those packed arenas during Caitlin Clark's games? Well, that's a thing of the past. Now, playoff games are seeing hardly any fans in the stands. Imagine walking into a venue that should be buzzing with playoff energy, only to find it feels more like a ghost town. Unfortunately, that's the current reality for the WNBA. But here's where things get even more troubling. The WNBA isn't just losing fans, it's facing significant financial challenges. And we're not talking about small numbers here. The NBA provides $200 million annually to support the WNBA, while it brings in over $7 billion from its own TV contracts. That's a massive gap, like comparing a small pond to an ocean. Now, you might be thinking, surely they have a plan to fix this, right? Here's where things get interesting. The WNBA's marketing efforts, or the lack of them, are leaving a lot of people puzzled. Believe it or not, they haven't produced any ads featuring Caitlin Clark. It's like they've found a treasure, but decided to keep it hidden. And it's not just about Clark. The league's overall player promotion strategy is under scrutiny. One analyst didn't hold back, bluntly saying, "Without Caitlin Clark, the WNBA is nothing but a polished turd." Ouch. That's not just harsh criticism. It's a wake-up call. The league has been riding Clark's fame, but they've overlooked the need for a backup plan. So what does this mean for the future of women's basketball? We're not just talking about a disappointing season. This could be a turning point for the entire league. Without Clark in the playoffs, the WNBA is hemorrhaging viewers at an alarming rate. And in a world where attention is everything, that's a serious threat. But here's the twist. It didn't have to be this way. The WNBA had a golden opportunity.
This leads us to a key question. Is this reliance good for the WNBA? You know the saying, don't put all your eggs in one basket. Well, it seems like the WNBA has had to learn this lesson the hard way. With Caitlin Clark out of the playoffs, the league is facing a reality check, and it has everyone wondering if they've missed a golden chance.
Get ready.
Believe me, this goes far beyond just losing a standout player. Let's take a moment to discuss some figures. Remember those crowded arenas during Caitlin Clark's games? Well, that seems to be a thing of the past. Nowadays, playoff games are seeing hardly any fans in the stands. Can you imagine walking into a place that should be filled with playoff energy, only to find it feels more like a ghost town? That's the current reality for the WNBA. But it gets even more troubling. The WNBA isn't just losing audience members. It's also facing substantial financial challenges. And we're not talking about small amounts here. The NBA provides $200 million annually to support the WNBA, while it generates over $7 billion from its television contracts alone. That's a huge gap, like comparing a small pond to an enormous ocean. Now, you might be thinking, surely they have a strategy to fix this, right? Hold tight, because this is where it gets really interesting. The WNBA's marketing efforts, or the lack of them, are leaving a lot of people puzzled. Believe it or not, they haven't produced any ads featuring Caitlin Clark. It's as if they have a treasure but chose to keep it hidden away. And it's not just about Clark. The league's overall strategy for promoting its players is under heavy scrutiny. One analyst bluntly remarked that without Caitlin Clark, the WNBA is nothing but a polished turd. Ouch! That's not just harsh criticism, it's a significant wake-up call. The league has been riding on Clark's fame, but seems to have overlooked the need for backup plans. So, what does this all mean for the future of women's basketball? We're not just talking about a disappointing season. This could be a turning point for the entire league. Without Clark in the playoffs, the WNBA is losing viewers at an alarming rate. And in today's world, where attention is a precious commodity, that's a serious threat. But here's the twist. It didn't have to turn out this way. The WNBA had a golden opportunity with Clark. They could have harnessed her star power to uplift other players and create engaging storylines that would keep fans interested even when she wasn't on the court. Instead, they put all their eggs in one basket, and now they're facing the consequences. Now you might be asking, so what's coming next for the WNBA? Get ready, because the solutions might just catch you off guard. We're not just looking for a quick solution. We want a complete makeover that could change the game.
During the first 2 minutes of the first round playoff game of the Connecticut Sun versus the Indiana Fever, Dejanay Carrington poked Caitlin Clark in the eye. Caitlin fell to the ground. She was holding her face. The refs did not call a foul. They didn't call a flagrant foul. The play continued.
Caitlin Clark's WNBA journey has been nothing short of eventful, but now she's facing a possible suspension.
DiJonai is going up for the ball. She misses, and then her hand bends down like this and goes straight into Caitlin's eye.
Can you believe it all because of something as simple as tossing the ball?
Caitlin Clark is taking over this league. And every passing game that she does something awesome, it makes the decision to leave her off the Olympic team that much stupider.
It seems a bit ridiculous, doesn't it? Despite breaking records and putting on an absolute show with her incredible skills on the court, it feels like the league is more focused on handing her technical fouls than celebrating her talent. Instead of letting Caitlin Clark shine, the spotlight seems to be on her reactions and the penalties that follow, almost overshadowing the brilliance she brings to the game. Is this really the best way to handle a player who's single-handedly drawing in crowds and elevating the WNBA? It's a strange situation, one that raises serious questions about the league's priorities. Shouldn't they be recognizing her for the star she is, rather than focusing on every moment of frustration she shows on the court? This isn't just about one player getting a few calls. It's about how the league manages its brightest stars. If they're too busy nitpicking instead of showcasing her game-changing abilities, they might be missing out on something much bigger.
WNBA, I'm talking players, coaches, and refs. They're all a bunch of Caitlin Clark haters. They're all a bunch of jealous haters.
Yep.
They are just working themselves up about Caitlin Clark just to hate on her. Skylar Diggins is bumping her. Their girls are complaining on the bench. Referees are getting into it now. They're all a bunch of haters.
The referees seem eager to blow their whistles for any reason.
DiJonai, she's a spice. Carrington, poking Caitlin Clark in the eye, regardless if you believe the eye poke was intentional or not. What happened to journalists and media? Well, standing by their stories and, of course, their opinions. Furthermore, can we stop trying to cancel people because we disagree with their opinions?
Whether she's celebrating a great play, showing frustration, or just playing her game, it's frustrating to see such a key player in the sport treated like she's constantly at risk of fouling out. Caitlin Clark is one of the biggest stars in the league, yet it feels like every move she makes is under a microscope. It's not just about the fouls. It's the way these calls seem to overshadow her talent. Fans come to watch her dominate on the court, not to see her sidelined by questionable officiating. And when every moment of emotion is met with a whistle, it takes away from the excitement she brings to the game. This kind of scrutiny feels unfair for a player who's doing so much for the league. Instead of letting her play with passion, it feels like the league is more focused on policing her reactions than celebrating her skills.
All of this conversation around Indiana Fever fans, it's all just misguided over-hatred of Caitlin Clark.
It just doesn't seem fair. Over in Indiana, the Fever are grabbing headlines with their record-breaking performances, and it's largely thanks to Caitlin Clark. It's been almost a decade since the Fever last made it to the playoffs. A huge achievement when you consider that only the top teams make it each year. And now, in her rookie season, Clark has already secured a playoff spot for them. That's impressive. This isn't just any ordinary season for the Fever. It's a comeback story, and Clark is at the heart of it all. Her impact on the team has been immediate, and securing a playoff spot in her first year is a testament to her talent and leadership.
The people coming up with excuses to hate Caitlin Clark and the new fan base that she brought. And justifying, again, as we talked about yesterday, Nike won't even put out a Caitlin Clark commercial, won't put out a Caitlin Clark shoe, because Nike has decided that they must bow to the angry black feminists, the Black Lives Matter movement, the feminist movement overall, the whole identity politics movement.
But just as everyone's gearing up for the playoffs, there's trouble brewing. Caitlin Clark is teetering on the edge of a suspension.
Yes, Caitlin Clark is the biggest star in sports, but Nike, in order to promote equity and fairness and diversity and inclusion, you must spend all of your money promoting Asia Wilson, someone most people don't know exists and don't care about.
Here's the deal. Despite an incredible rookie season packed with record-breaking moments, Caitlin Clark is facing a potential suspension due to the WNBA's strict rules. Is it even possible to cancel anyone anymore? Well, in the WNBA, If a player racks up 7 technical fouls in a season, they have to sit out the next game.
Despite an incredible
and guess
rookie
what?
season packed
Caitlin's
with
sitting at
record-breaking
6
moments,
right now.
she's facing a
That
potential
means she's
suspension
just
due
one
to the
tech away from
WNBA's
missing a
strict
game.
rules.
It's a frustrating situation, especially considering how crucial she's been to her
technical
team.
fouls in a season,
One more
they have
technical,
to sit out the next
and the
game.
Fever could
Guess
be without
what?
their
Caitlin's
star
sitting at
when they
6.
need her the
that
most.
means she's just...
Carrington has spent the past several months mocking and smearing Clark. The Los Angeles Times provided that context with the following headline. Caitlin Clark suffers black eye. It was caused by a player who mocked and called her out. Well, that seems pretty easy. That seems very easy. But of course, the normal suspects take issue with this because the normal suspect, I don't know why we ever give Sarah Spain any credence at all, but we do on this show.
And with the playoffs so close, the timing couldn't be worse. Fans are on edge, feeling like it's a nail-biting season finale.
Caitlin Clark got you watching the league. Because it wasn't just her. You wanted to see who eventually she was going to end up going against. You saw other folks trying to get at her and trying to get at her team, and you saw fans and all of this other stuff going on, which we will get into, right? She has you transfixed on the entire league. That's why I brought up Michael Jordan.
The issue isn't just the rule itself. It's how Caitlin Clark has been treated by the refs.
With Caitlin Clark, you find yourself watching the league as well.
We're talking about a rookie who's led her team set records and brought a lot of excitement to the league.
Basketball has really consumed my life for a year, so I feel like it'll be good for me to kind of reflect back on everything that's happened. Like, I feel like I didn't even have time to really reflect on my college career because it ended so fast, and then I came here and was trying to give everything I could to this team, and it was special. There was a lot of things that this group accomplished that, you know, a lot of people probably didn't think was possible.
Yet she keeps getting hit with penalties for small things.
The 7 technical
foul rule is supposed to keep things under control.
But it feels like Clark is being punished for
simply showing passion on the court.
Is the most impactful women's basketball player we've seen in a generation, and it took.
Let the girls celebrate. What's really frustrating is that most of Caitlin Clark's technicals aren't from any bad behavior deserving harsh punishment. They're mostly just reactions, like celebrating a big play or questioning a call. And honestly, who hasn't wanted to argue with a ref at some point? It feels like she's getting punished for showing passion, not for anything truly unsportsmanlike.